Hello friends, how are you all? Hope you are doing great at various aspects of your lives. Today we are going to talk about another book that is related to Mahabharata. Mahabharat or Mahabharata is definitely one of the best, if not the best, epic ever known to the mankind. It is rightly said that almost every situation, every problem, every feeling we can possibly face in our lives are present in it. Probably that is why people, especially with Indian roots, are so fascinated with it. In the true Bharatiya, that is Indian, culture, people tend to explore the inner journey more than the outer one. Considering the soul as immortal, they are quite fascinated with the elements of life beyond and after birth and death. They wanted to explore the things in the larger context. That is why Dharma is Sanatan for them, and Dharma is also another name for Yama or Yam, the god of the death, the god of death. And that is why the original book, in which the Mahabharata is a segment of a much longer story, is named Jaya or Jai, that is victory over one's self, rather than Vijaya or Vijay, that is victory over the other. Not only the readers but also writers are in love with this great epic, of course. It would not be wrong to say that every author who grew up hearing stories from Mahabharata dream of rewriting or reimagining one version of it from his or her perspective. For example, late Harilal Upadhyay, a Gujarati author, has tried to stick to the original popular version of Mahabharat in his Mahabharat book series, which is comprised of 7 books. Here are some of the other books based on Mahabharat we have got a chance to read recently and found them worth sharing with you all. Jaya, an illustrated retelling of Mahabharata. Korpokshetra, Mahabharata in the MBA Yug, Barbarika by Hariharan Raju, Ashwathama's Redemption, The Rise of Dandak by Gunjan Porwal, Bhimsen by Prem Panikar, and many more. I will add the links to all these book reviews in the description segment below. Adding to the list is Shikhandini, Warrior Princess of the Mahabharata by Ashwini Shenoy. The book is published by an imprint of Leadstart Publishing. We are thankful to the publishers for providing us the review copy. Let us take a look at the cover page of Shikhandini, Warrior Princess of the Mahabharata. The cover page plays a very important role in a large number of purchases and reading decisions. So, despite believing in the fact that a book should not be judged by its cover, we must acknowledge the influence of the book cover also. The cover page of this book shows an illustration of the female protagonist, which seems to be inspired a lot by Egyptian art. In the dark red background, the illustration of the male version of her is also reflected. Shikhandini was a skilled swordswoman and a devotee of Lord Shiva. These details are also represented on the cover page. So, it is a very thoughtful cover page. The shades of dark made the cover page look a little dull, possibly representing the state of mind the protagonist went through in major part of her life. However, too much influence of foreign art and dullness may not go fine with many readers. Let us take a bird's eye view of the plot. Shikhandini, the princess, born to Queen Kokila Devi and King Drupad of Panchal. She lives with her parents, her grandfather Prishta and her Daima. Her childhood was quite happy and she was an apple of her mother's eye. One fateful day, she donned the lotus garland hanged in the quarantined area of the palace. She was joyful with her act, but her mother scolded her and behaved strangely with her. Shikhandini, the young kid, was unable to understand what made her mother so upset. She tried to make up with her by her playful behavior, as no child can think of upsetting her or his mother due to her or his actions, of course. Soon after the incident, she was sent to a different place to get trained and prepare for the future battle, fulfilling a prophecy related to her and the most ferocious and unconquerable warrior of those days, Maharathi Bhishma. Of course, the story of Shikhandini or Shikhandi is known to the majority of readers. We leave the rest of the book plot for them to explore by reading. Over the course, you meet Shikhandini, Drupad, Kokila Devi, Daima, Sthurnakarna, Pavaki, Maharshi Vyas, Guru Maharishika, Brahmaramba, Kush, Hiranyavarna, Pandavas, Kauravas, Kunti, Madri, Pandu, Dhritarashtra, Gandhari, Shakuni, Kshatradev, and many other characters, some in detail and some of them are just referred. Here are my views and reviews for the book. The book is the first full-length novel by Ashwini. However, while reading the book, the reader will not think so, even once, and that reflects the potential in her as an author. She is here to stay and pen more books, I wish. The problem with the stories that live for generations, decades, centuries, and even millennia is the superlativeness associated with it. Over the time, the reality started converting into legends, and often the things are started being seen in the divine context. It has both good and adverse effects on the story. They are read or listened to with great devotion and attention and thus kept alive through generations. But the rational minds start thinking about it as a fiction and neglecting the same. What I found as the most positive attribute of the book is the balanced, or rather, I would say, the rational approach of the author based on her limited knowledge and research work. These lines from the book will give you a hint about the vision of the author. Of course, there is a God, the divine. There has to be. But why think of God as a magician? Is it not possible that he is perhaps the greatest scientist of all? If God was a magician, why would he have started with a single cell and evolved humans over yugas? He could have simply performed a yajna, spoken a few mantras, and created a complete human in a day. But it has taken yugas to make this world, to stabilize and maintain the perfect balance in everything, to formulate the ecosystem, to create the food chain, the laws of nature, and we humans reduce it all to magic? God has left evidence of His experiments and inventions everywhere for us to find, understand, and appreciate in the soil, the air, and water, and greatest of all, the Panchbhuta in the human body. And the character who utters this word is, well, that makes everything even more impactful. So I will leave it for you to get the name by reading. In the same rational context, Ashwini also says, contrary to the popular belief, rishis did not achieve their knowledge with just penance and worship. They studied hard through years of experiments, recording their findings to benefit future generations. And she represented yakshas also in quite a realistic manner. The impeccable knowledge of herbs, medicines, and sciences, their battle skills, and other attributes, all these are written with a logical approach. The Yakshas always fought battles based on the opponent's nature. They followed no hard and fast rules. This made them fierce and brutal warriors. In the author's notes, she talks about science of Ila and why she referred to it so, and the concept of Kshitigarbh in a logical manner. However, if the story of Budh or Buddha and Ila was also explored in the book, it would have been even more interesting and convincing. In this book, you will find the references to Rishikas and Maharishikas, that are the female rishis, reflecting the rather advanced way of living and gender unbiasedness during those days. At the same time, you will find references to the typical mentalities of some of the people as well. For example, you had the choice, Prince, but you chose to sword, believing it would be easy to fight a woman. Your arrogance has led you to your doom. The book, rather than giving pseudo-feminism lectures, actually shows how a person can rise above all odds without bashing the other gender. Why to consider it as opposite gender? This is the way to represent a strong character. You will find some characters and places that are named in a regional style the author is probably influenced by, like Aryavarth or Bharat, Sutputra, Ashwathama, Vidura, Panchabhuta. When you are writing a book for a global readership, taking care of such things makes your work even better. Pandu is referred to as Pandeshwar in the book. This is the first time I see someone referring him so. The author is good at writing one-liners. Some of them live with you even after you complete reading the book. Here are some of them. Nothing, no matter how powerful, can go against destiny. Winning requires strength, valor, and self-confidence. Not using your skills when the opportunity presents itself is the trait of a fool. The pain caused by a loved one is far more agonizing than the caused by a foe. Fire leapt forth like some mythological beast, swallowing everything in its path. Like a bird long caged, her spirit left her body, leaving behind all those she had loved. Here are some quotes about friendship and realities of life from the book. The promise of friendship that would last a lifetime, the promise of sharing everything we achieved in life. Do you forget I saved your life from the leopard in the forest? I made no such promises. As for saving my life, my guards protect me every day. That does not make them my friends. Or, Drona finally understood the truth behind the mortal life. Friendship, trust, and modesty were mere philosophical concepts. The only thing people respected was money and power. I also liked the way she referred Kaurava, Pandava terms and questioned that aren't Pandavas also Kauravas, descendants of Kuru? It is worth noting that they are referred to as Dhartarashtras at places, and I personally look for all this retelling to see a reference to that word, mostly disappointed. Anyway, let us see how the author brings in the question. Kauravas is the name given to the descendants of the Kuru dynasty, Shikhandini said. So, are not the sons of King Pandeshwar Kauravas as well? And the way she summarizes the logical answer makes it more interesting. The author is good at writing emotional scenes. Rather than making the representation of the feelings too melodramatic, she represents them in simple yet effective words. For example, no one could understand Pandeshwar's agony better than Bhishma. Being the cause of an innocent man's death, whether intentional or not, was the greatest sin of Kshatriya Dharma. Vidura smiled. Vidur smiled to see the determined look in the youngster's eyes. His 9-year-old nephew was far older and wiser than his years. What use of all this fame and power when obtained at the cost of your loved ones? What has your pride brought you but an empty heart? She has been punishing herself every minute since you left. She has not participated in any festivities or celebration since the day you left. She did not even grace the naming ceremony of your brother and sister. Poor children, they do not know their mother. The last quote about the love of a mother is one of the best I found in this book. The book also talks about the need of balancing in relations passively. Read these words uttered by Drupad in the context of the same. If it is followed, most of the domestic turbulences can be kept at the bay. Panchali is no longer ours to save my child. Intervening in this matter would be to insult the Pandavas. Again, the context is important to understand. Neither Drupad nor his family has ever left Draupadi to her fate. They fought for her in the great battle and met with their deaths. Half knowledge is often dangerous. In this book, Shikhandini does sword fight with Bhishma. Of course, she was a ferocious swordswoman, but the fall of Bhishma was on the bed of arrows, and many readers may find the sword fight hard to digest. The author has a rich vocabulary. She uses some interesting phrases like political quagmire in the book. The glossary at the end of the book is another positive attribute of the book. Of course, there are many elements, scenes, and incidents in the book we can talk about in detail, but I wanted to keep as many spoilers as possible at the bay. So, what is the conclusion? Overall, an interesting representation of Mahabharata from the perspective of an unsung or lesser sung hero, Shikhandini, in a realistic and rational manner. ThinkerViews rating would be around 8 to 8.5 stars out of 10. So, what do you think about this book? What do you think about this book review? Are you going to read the book? Have you already read it? And yes, if you have enjoyed listening to the review, please do share with your friends, hit the like button, and do not forget to subscribe to our channel so whenever a new podcast is released, you would get notified. Till we meet with our next podcast, bye bye, take care, namaskar.